Welcome to another Orb Composer tutorial brought to you by Hexachords. In this video we're going to go over the basics of the user settings controls. Project backups. Default path for backup projects. This parameter defines the location where Orb Composer will auto-save files for new projects. You can define any location on your computer, but I suggest having a specified location where you keep your Orb Composer projects stored so as to keep things neat and tidy, because we are organized people. Maximum number of backup files. This parameter just dictates how many backup files Orb Composer is allowed to create. By default, this number is 10, and I'm not sure what the maximum number is, but I have mine set to 100, because you just never know. And I clear my backup files whenever a project is closed or completed. I suspect in the future we will see a version of Orb Composer that keeps backup files project dependent, and creates files where you have saved your project file. Autosave interval in seconds. This one is pretty self-explanatory. How many seconds should pass between Orb Composer creating an automatic backup save file of your project? This is not to be confused with saving your project, which saves just the project itself to the file your project is specified to overwrite when saving, but rather the interval that defines when backup files are created. Basic project settings. Use auto-scroll when playing. By default, Orb Composer will scroll to the right automatically while you're playing your project. Disabling this option enables you to have free motion to the project while the project is playing. Disabling this can be useful for larger projects where you want to look ahead or not miss something behind your current playback position so that you can go back and edit and not lose your place. Load Orb Composer plugins in new projects. This setting will come into play more in the future, but right now only really affects Orb Piano and electronic drum sounds from being loaded when creating a new project. New sound banks, embedded sounds, and effects plugins are a planned feature of Orb Composer for those who do not have tons of sample libraries, VST synths, effect plugins, etc. at their disposal. Update plugin list at start. This setting will scan your VST plugins for changes every time Orb Composer loads. Disabling this will prevent Orb Composer from always checking. However, I found that even with the setting turned off, Orb Composer does notice additions to my plugins folders and will add them accordingly to Orb Composer's plugins list of usable plugins. Default export path for projects. This parameter simply defines where Orb Composer will, by default, export all audio. Advanced project settings. Randomizing curves. For Orb Composer, we have 3 different curve parameters which can be randomized. Those are intensity, momentum, and space. For more information on these, click on the Orb Composer S Getting Started link video on the screen now for more information about what intensity, momentum, and space means, but suffice to say that deselecting any of these parameters will prevent Orb Composer from creating random-looking lines you see here, in place for neat, straight lines like this. Use the template BPM. This parameter is a codependent parameter. Deselecting this parameter will cause specified BPMs for all blocks to become white. And this will be the set BPM or tempo that all blocks will always be given by default. Having Use Template BPM selected will use the BPM of your template to decide the tempo of blocks. I always keep this setting checked, as I don't do the same tempo for all of my tracks. Randomize BPM. This parameter is for creating new projects only. When a new project is created, should Orb Composer choose a random BPM, or go to its default setting? And what is the default BPM? The answer to that, my dear friends, is 60 beats per minute. If you deselect Randomize BPM, your project will always start at 60 BPM when creating new projects. Hopefully you found this tutorial helpful. If you did, give us a like. And if you want to get your copy of Orb Composer, click the Buy Now button on the screen. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them down below, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. And you can also join our Discord community by clicking the link in the description. Thanks for watching.